Hey, what's up, guys? Tom Clark over here at TFC IV MMA. We are back. Sorry, the content's not been the best. I've been up on vacation. That's why I didn't even release a video last week for UFC London. Ended up being a pretty good card. We had pure domination from Tom Aspinall in the main event. Stolyarenko got the impressive win over Molly McCann with her signature armbar. So lots of very impressive performances. Wood versus Feely was a great fight. But sorry I couldn't make it. Been up here, as you guys can see. I'm in my sister-in-law's craft room office for this episode. But UFC 291 is such a good card. I had to make a quick video for it, guys. It's loaded from top to bottom. The BMF belt is on the line in the main event. We have Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje, and this one's going to be a banger. I mean, I don't think anyone can say anything otherwise. Their first fight was pure fireworks from the get-go. Justin had Dustin hurt at times, really implemented the leg kicks very well, but Poirier withstood the storm and put Justin out later on in the fight. So can history repeat itself in this one, or has Justin Gaethje made enough changes to get the win here? So it's a great storyline going into there. In the co-main event, we have Alex Pereira's move up to 205 pounds. So it's going to be very, very good, guys. I'm pumped for this card, as I know you guys are too. But let's get right into it. And to start the night, we have Priscilla Cachoeira going up against late notice replacement Miranda Maverick. The odds are pretty skewed on this one. I mean, Miranda's a minus 315 favorite, and Priscilla's a plus 245. Miranda's a very talented fighter, but even then, coming off the performance she just had, you usually don't see her at those kind of odds, or any fighter at those kind of odds after that kind of performance. There's another instance later in the card too that we'll get into where it's something similar. But at minus 315, it is a little steep, but I do think Miranda has all the advantages here. I think she has the grappling advantage. I think she can control enough in the striking. I do think Priscilla has more power, but I think Miranda can really implement where this fight's going to go. She had a really tough time out in her last time against Jasmine Jasdavicius, and Cachoeira's on some nice wins here against Kim, against Ariane Lipsky, but she did have that loss against Jillian Robertson, which leads me to believe that in this fight, Miranda Maverick's going to get the win. So first fight of the night, we're picking Miranda Maverick. Then the next fight, we got Semi the Jedi, Matt Semmelsberger. He's going up against Uros Medic. I know I'm probably botching that name. Like I said, guys, my brain's kind of in vacation mode. Sorry. He's about minus 205 going up against Medic, who's plus 175. Obviously, Uros is a lightweight coming up to welterweight because Matt's last opponent had to pull out on short notice. So tough to find a welterweight that can cut that much weight in such a short time without kind of killing himself with it. So they bring a lightweight in, and Medic is 2-1 in the UFC. He's had the win over Morales, but he did lose to Jalen Turner. Semi's 5-3. He had the most impressive performance of his career 2 fights ago against Jake Matthews, one where he was a heavy underdog, came in and landed some great shots, got the win. But his last time out, he was put up against Jeremiah Wells, who's a very talented welterweight. And Semi hit him with some massive shots that really would have knocked almost anybody else out. Wells weathered the storm, used the grappling to get the win. So a very impressive win for Wells there, but a good performance from Semmelsberger. Nothing to hang his head on. I mean, he knocked Wells down at least 3 to 4 times. So usually if you do that, you're getting the win. So that was a rare exception. And like I said, Semmelsberger is about a minus 205 in this fight, going up against the late nose replacement. Give me Matt Semmelsberger here. Then we go down to the flyweight division. Both of these guys fought on the same card last time out back in March. CJ Vergara had that awesome performance going up against Lacerda, where in the first round, I mean, he was sprinting away from his opponent. That's how badly he was hurt. And Vinicius Salvador went up against Victor Altamirano on that card. Salvador lost a close decision. Vergara ended up finishing Lacerda in the second. Before that, he lost to Tatsuro Taira, but that's not a loss to hang your hat on. So Vergara's 2-2 in the promotion. Vinicius Salvador's 0-1. So both guys fairly new, nothing crazy. Vergara comes in at minus 160 with Salvador at plus 130. Salvador did show some okay striking his last time out. I mean, pretty fluid. He came in with the R9 haircut right on the front. So it was a nice showing from him, but nothing that will blow your socks off. And Altamirano pretty clearly got the win. But in this case, give me CJ Vergara to get it. I think he showed last time he can go through adversity and still get the win, and that's an important thing, especially if you're going to be putting money on the guy. You want a guy who fights for your money, and that's what I think CJ Vergara will do at minus 160 there. Then we spoke about Jake Matthews, talking about his Matt Semmelsberger. Obviously, Matt had that great fight, and it was very similar to Semmelsberger, where his last fight wasn't so great, and the fight before that was a career performance. Same thing with Jake Matthews. His last fight against Semmelsberger wasn't great, but before that, he had a fight against Andre Fialho where he looked invincible. And that's why the odds were so heavy going into the Semmelsberger fight. He's going up against Darius Flowers. Flowers is making his UFC debut. He did have a win on the Dana White Contender Series, and they're bringing him on here. Matthews is 11-6 in the promotion. Like I said, coming off the loss against Semmelsberger and then the win against Fialho. The odds are a lot closer than you may think for a guy who's making his debut. Matthews is still a heavy favorite at minus 275, but Flowers is about plus 230. Like we saw last week, or not last week, but 2 weeks ago with Jack Della Maddalena and Bayer Hafez. I mean, these debutants are very good fighters, so you can't take them too lightly. But I am going to take Jake Matthews in this one. I think the crisp boxing is what's really going to help him. He looked phenomenal against Fialho, and it's not too far where I'm going to just give up on him yet. Then we go to light heavyweight. Light heavyweight. Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. And Kopylov comes in about a minus 240. This is 185. I'm so sorry for you. I don't know why I said light heavyweight. Duraev always kills me, whether he's 205 and obviously Kopylov fought him, so my bad. But light heavyweight or middleweight fight here. Roman Kopylov going up against Claudio Ribeiro. Kopylov's a minus 240. I think the odds started a lot closer than this, and I think there was a point where even Ribeiro was a favorite. I may be wrong. I may just be thinking things. Like I said, brain's in vacation mode, so sorry for the couple missteps there. But Kopylov's 2-2 in the UFC. He obviously had that loss against Albert Duraev, but he came back his last performance against Puna Soriano, and he looked phenomenal. I mean, boxing very well. His kicks were good. And he's going up against Claudio Ribeiro, who had a very impressive win over Joseph Holmes last time out, but you take it with a grain of salt, it's Joseph Holmes. We saw what happened when he went up against Abdul Al-Razak Al-Hassan, who knocked him out pretty bad. So at minus 240, especially after the last performance, give me Roman Kopylov. I think he stops Ribeiro in the second or third round. Even in his win, Ribeiro did look pretty gassed, so not a great sign, just to be honest with you. Then we go to the heavyweights. We got the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. He's going up against Marcus Rogerio de Lima. Derek Lewis has kind of been on a skid. He's had the 3 straight L's to Tai Tuivasa, and then the Sergeys, Pavlovich, and then Spivak. So the Pavlovich fight was kind of a quick stoppage. There was some controversy there, but hey, I think we all know what would have happened if it went longer. Pavlovich just probably would have put him out cold. Tai Tuivasa did put him out cold. Sergey Spivak kind of dominated him. So it's not been a great run for the Black Beast. So they're giving him quite the step down in competition, going to Marcus Rogerio de Lima. De Lima is still a great fighter. I'm not making it to say like it's a huge step down, but there's such levels in heavyweight, and he's going from facing the top tier to now he's going to the second tier. Even then, though, bookmakers have him as the underdog here at plus 170. De Lima's a minus 200. De Lima showed great leg kicks his last time out. If he can utilize those in his grappling, I think he can beat Lewis. But if Lewis can lure him into a brawl here, especially at altitude where both these guys are probably going to gas pretty quick, I mean, at plus 170, I'm going to take the Black Beast. Give me Derek Lewis there. I may be picking with my heart and not my head, and I'm going to be honest with you. I like Derek Lewis a lot, so there may be some personal bias in there, but give me Derek Lewis. Then we go to the welterweight division. We got former middleweight Trevin Giles going up against Gabriel Bonfim. Giles is 7-4 in the UFC. He had the win over Parsons his last time out at UFC San Antonio. Bonfim is 1-0, had that very impressive performance over Munir Lazez in Brazil. That was a night where him and his brother Ismael both had phenomenal performances, kind of stole the show for that UFC Brazil card. So Bonfim comes in at minus 320 on this one. We saw it happen with his brother. His brother came in as a big favorite, ends up losing. But I think Benoit Saint-Denis is a lot better fighter than Trevin Giles is. No disrespect from Trevin Giles. He's fought some killers. He's fought in guys like Dricus du Plessis. So he's fought in the top level of fighters that the UFC has to offer. But at minus 320, give me Gabriel Bonfim. Then we get to the main card. We started off in the welterweight division. We got the Maverick Michael Chiesa going up against Kevin Holland. The odds are very close in this one. When I was checking all this morning, Chiesa's plus 125 and Kevin Holland's minus 145. Kevin had a pretty impressive performance over Santiago Ponzinibbio back in Miami, got the win, but before that had the loss against Wonderboy where he broke his hand, obviously. Whereas Michael Chiesa has taken quite the time away from MMA. I mean, I think the last time his last loss was to Sean Brady, which it was in November of 2021. So we're almost 2 years removed from that. So quite the layoff for him. And we'll see if it pays off. I mean, he had such a great start to his welterweight career. He had the wins over Neil Magny, or RDA, had those wins on his resume. Then he's kind of beating Vicente Luque pretty badly, gets Darce choked, and then he loses to Sean Brady, which that's a win or a loss that's not horrible. I mean, Michael Chiesa's a grappler, and Sean Brady's just a better grappler, and we saw that. And Chiesa did have his moments on the feet. And the odds are pretty close in this one, which kind of surprises me. I like Kevin Holland. A lot of people like Kevin Holland, but we kind of forget like what Derek Brunson did to him. The fact that Kyle Dawkins, who's been cut from the promotion, I know the headbutt caused it to be a no contest. Kyle Dawkins was clearly winning that fight. So it's tough with Kevin Holland. I mean, he's a very talented fighter, and it's hard to not like him. I mean, he's a very likable fighter. But I got to go with Michael Chiesa here at plus 125 with that much grappling upside. His jiu-jitsu's far better. His wrestling's far better. Give me the Maverick. Give me Michael Chiesa. Then we go to the lightweight division. Like, I hate that we even have to have Tony Ferguson fight anymore. It's not even fun. It's depressing at this point. The guy was here. Now he's here. I mean, he was on the top of the mountain, interim lightweight champion. All those fights with Habib that could have happened. And now the luster's just not there. He's lost all of his recent fights. He looked horrid his last time out against Nate Diaz. Luckily, they're putting him up against Bobby Green, which is quite the step down in competition. But to be honest, the Nate Diaz we saw in Bobby Green, I think are pretty damn close. And I think that Bobby Green's probably a better striker than the Nate Diaz we saw. So, but the odds are very skewed in this one. Like I said earlier with Miranda Maverick, we had someone else on the card who was coming off a rough performance that was still a heavy favorite, and that is Bobby Green. Obviously, his last time out, he got knocked out by Drew Dober, but Drew Dober knocks a lot of people's lights out, so that's not one to hang your head on. Then he had the no contest against Jared Gordon. So give me Bobby Green here at minus 400. That's too steep to bet, and it may be worth throwing, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks on Tony Ferguson, but I don't see him winning. I mean, until we see something that tells us different, the sun has set on Tony Ferguson's career. We can just put it that way. Then we go to the welterweight division. This fight was originally supposed to be on the prelims because we had Paulo Costa versus Ikram Aliskerov. Paulo Costa did what he does best these days and just pulled out of the fight, didn't show up. So now we have Wonderboy, Stephen Thompson going up against Michel Pereira, and this is going to be a pretty good fight. Odds are very close here. Wonderboy is the favorite at minus 150, and I think rightfully so. He's the much more experienced guy. Pereira is plus 130, so very close odds. Not quite pick 'em. The Wonderboy's the clear favorite, but close enough to where it's not drastic. Wonderboy's coming off the win against Kevin Holland. Before that, he did have the 2 losses against Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad, who grappled him, which is, you're not going to outstrike Wonderboy really on the feet. So you grapple him, you beat him that way. And Pereira is 2-5 in the UFC. He had the win over Santiago Ponzinibbio his last time out. And Michel Pereira is a massive welterweight. He cuts a bunch of weight. It's been a little while since his last fight, so I'm excited to see how much improvement he's made. He's one of those guys where he's so crazy, he's so unorthodox, but he's also improved every time he stepped foot in the octagon. So it's been pretty impressive. I can't wait to see him out there. And I think if he uses the grappling, I really think he can get the job done here. So at plus 130, I'm going to go with Michel Pereira here. I've kind of been fading the older fighters as of late, and I think Pereira is going to be a lot stronger. He's going to be a lot bigger. Wonderboy is going to have the striking advantage, but I think Pereira, if he can use the clinches, use the grappling, I think he can get it done. So at plus 130, give me Michel Pereira. And we go from one Pereira to the next Pereira in the co-main event. We got Polish Power, Jan Blachowicz, going up against Poatan, Alex Pereira. Alex is finally making a move up to 205, which all of us that have watched Alex for a little bit of time, like myself and Glory, he's better at 205. He should be at 205. The guy walks around at 225, 230. The 185 cut was killing him. You could see him on the scales. It was kind of nuts. He didn't look super sunken out to what we've seen, but still, you could tell it had a thing. And you saw it in the Adesanya fight. I mean, that was a phenomenal shot by Adesanya, don't get me wrong. But I do think that cutting the extreme amount of weight really limits your ability to take a punch. So I think that did affect him. And now he's going up to 205, where he was better in Glory. And he's going up against Jan Blachowicz. The odds are very close. Jan is a minus 125. Poatan's at plus 105. So he's the underdog. There's some money to be made if you like his side here. One thing that really intrigues me about this fight is the leg kicks. Both guys are phenomenal with beating up the legs. We saw Poatan in both the fights had Adesanya's legs pretty beat up. Blachowicz had Ankalaev fully immobilized on that front leg, and he just couldn't finish the deal with it. So it's very tough. Pereira's leg kick style is very unique. It's more of a slap than a kick, and it works very well, though, with immobilizing the leg, getting that perennial nerve. And Jan Blachowicz has said he wants to test his striking against Pereira. I think that would be a very stupid move. I think Blachowicz clearly has the grappling advantage, but I also do think that at 205, his strength will be better. I don't know if you guys have seen the embeddeds. The dude is massive. I think he also did a good thing. He went out to Salt Lake City about 2 weeks before the fight. So that encourages me a lot. And if you're giving me plus money on the hardest pound-for-pound hitter in the UFC, in my opinion, give me Alex Poatan Pereira. Then we get to the main event. We spoke about it in the beginning. The rematch. We got Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier. These guys fought in 2018. They've went their separate ways. Both guys have held interim belts since then. Both guys have lost to Khabib since then. Both guys have lost to Charles Oliveira since then. Both guys have beaten Michael Chandler since then. So a lot of similarities with the path these guys have taken. Whereas Justin fought Tony Ferguson, Dustin fought Conor McGregor, had 2 very impressive wins over Conor. So it's going to be a good fight. The odds are very close. Justin's at plus 130. Dustin's at minus 150. I've really been leaning Dustin for a lot of this thing. But one thing that scared the hell out of me is the first episode of Embedded, and Dustin's still in Florida. It looked like Dustin was still in Florida. Justin's been up at altitude. Justin trains at altitude. That makes a massive difference. So I'm still going to go with my gut and pick Dustin Poirier here at minus 150. But I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not confident. I'm not betting it. I would not be surprised at all if Justin Gaethje beats him. And I'll also put it this way. I'm picking Dustin Poirier because it's the set thing. If the Justin Gaethje that shows up against Rafael Fiziev shows up, he will win this fight. He was composed. He was collected. He picked his shots well. If the normal Justin Gaethje shows up, he's going to get knocked out. Because normal Justin Gaethje, we all know what happens. I mean, he goes ballistic and he gets himself knocked out. He gets himself submitted. He gets finished. So it's going to be very interesting, guys. I'm going with Dustin Poirier, but it should be a good fight. I got all my socials right here, as you can see. Give me a follow on those if you wouldn't mind. Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what your favorite pick of the card is and who your lock of the night is. I always love hearing from the listeners and all the people on Twitter who you guys got. And I'll even change my view, and I've been pretty open with that. I've done some Saturday morning posts, hey, switching what I said in the video. So let me know. I look forward to hearing from you guys and hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you.